Now, the past week has seen multiple Meet the People sessions regarding the e-scooter ban, but some argue it's not just about the e-scooters anymore. Public safety was the crux of initial debates around the use of PMDs following multiple collisions with pedestrians, one of which resulted in the death of a woman. This culminated in the e-scooter ban from footpaths from November 5th. Since then, there have been a slew of Meet the People sessions with concerned riders all over Singapore, with as many as 6 sessions in one evening. And here with us today to share more is Transport Editor Karamjit Kaur. Hi Karam.
Hi Kimberly.
So what is the current situation?
So currently, you just said that this really has gone beyond just a transport issue. We're not just talking about e-scooters and where they are allowed and not allowed. If you look beyond that, there are really two ways in which this has taken off. One, of course, is the whole idea of jobs and the overall economy. So these riders, these PMD riders, these food delivery people who have been turning up at the Meet the People sessions, really the question for us is, who are these people? There are like 7,000 of these PMD food delivery people who are affected by the ban that doesn't allow them to use their e-scooters on public footpaths. But we're talking about a much bigger group here. Estimate we're looking at about like 30,000 people in the food delivery segment, and really beyond that, if you want to take it even further, the whole private hire business sector, your Grab drivers and all, that's easily another 50, 60,000. So we're looking at like 100,000 people, and they're all part of what we call the gig economy, right? This economy that is essentially characterized by many jobs that are like short-term contracts or like freelance work, so everything but permanent jobs. So then if you understand where these people are coming from, then you get a sense of why they are so concerned, about the fact that if they're not allowed to use their e-scooters on public footpaths, that will then affect their livelihood. What can they do then? And our sense, talking to people on the ground, the riders themselves, is that majority of them, I would say 7, even 8 in 10, don't have a very high level of education. So probably PSLE or secondary schools, some school dropouts. So for them, what really are the options, right? Which is why you see NTUC has stepped in, Workforce Singapore that has stepped in to say that they are prepared and they're quite willing to work, with this law to see if they can move on to move them on to other jobs. Right. So that's at one level, and then. So beyond that, the whole Meet the People session, that has also become quite politicized.
Right, so it's opened this question of, is it turning political? What's happening there?
Yeah, so I think we can safely say that yes, it has taken on a political slant. And if you look at where, it all started, I would go back to, during the first Meet the People session where the riders turned up. It was to meet with Home Affairs and Law Minister, Shanmugam, and he, in a Facebook posting after he met the riders, said that there was a certain character that was, sort of like lurking around and taking photos and possibly videos, and Minister actually identified him as Mr. Edmund Loke, who is a well-known opposition supporter, and he actually said, his behaviour was sneaky, to quote him, sneaky, unnecessary. So that kind of ended there and didn't really go further. Then, of course, a couple of days later, the biggest group of PMB riders, about 300 of them, turned up to meet with Dr. Lam Pin Min,
yes,
who is the Senior Minister of State for Transport. And again, so this time it was a bit more open and visible. So we had Mr. Goh Ming Singh, who is a Sec-Gen of the People's Power Party, and he actually stood up and he asked questions. And so again, Dr. Lam in a Facebook posting after that used the terms irresponsible, abhorrent, and then that then prompted Mr. Goh to...
Actually, the fact that you're going to mention Mr. Goh Ming Singh's video, right?
Yes.
And actually, we do have a video of that, so let's have a look.
Nice.
Dr. Lam, please, don't be a crybaby. You have created a serious situation for people's livelihood. You break people's rice bowl, and that is politics.
What did you think of that?
Yeah, so very, very emotional, seems a bit agitated. But I think what to me is more interesting about that episode is that it I think kind of then prompted Workers' Party chief Pritam Singh to jump in and to weigh in. So I think that was rather unexpected. And I don't know, perhaps he did that because, Mr. Goh was a former, Workers' Party a member, and Mr. Pritam Singh didn't quite say so explicitly, but it seemed as if he was trying to distance himself from the remarks made by Mr. Goh, and he talked about how opposition unity, in his words, remains a challenge. And then he went on to then say that as far as the Workers' Party is concerned, they believe in pushing for a better Singapore for all Singaporeans, and that the destruction of the opposition is not what their end, their end game is. Mr. Singh then went on to talk about how he believes that PMDs have a future in Singapore, and that he believes they will make a comeback when the infrastructure and the regulations can move in tandem. So the story kind of ends there. We'll have to see what happens next week. Beyond this, I won't be surprised if this becomes an issue during hustings. I mean, we all expected the next GE before the end of April. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does come up as an issue. Let's just have to wait and see.
I guess it's still a bit too early to tell if it will be. But thanks for coming on to share more with us. And to read this full story, do head on once again to straitstimes.com.